still not doing the transition like I would like for when I start with my camera. I would prefer it if it kind of faded in over the previous thing. But you know what? So far, so good. I'm not going to mess with success. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another hopefully successful Mac to the Future. I have spent a lot of money, and now I have a computer that I believe will work the way that I expect it to. As usual, I have my cohort in crime, Mr. Warren Sklar. See, we actually have like little name tags, so now you know who we are. Isn't that like just so super cool? Yeah, it will. I did. I spelled your name right. I did spell your name right. Um, well, hey, Warren. For the most part, it's looking like it's working the way I expect. It's looking like the audio sync problem isn't happening that I was having with my other computer. I've given that computer to my son Peter. He asked for it, and so far we're having all kinds of problems making it work with the graphics card that I have in there. But that's a topic for another day. There was a big discussion over, before we get into the topics, there was a big discussion over the Mac of the Future Facebooks, started by Brandon Fishman about Apple Maps versus everything else. Now, Warren, what do you use when you're out and about? Uh-huh. Right. Well, they said they can't hear you. Oh, hold on. Sorry. That is actually, they should be able to hear you now.
Can you can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
They should be able to hear you now. Sorry, that was something that I've got to work out is when when I bring up other stuff like the ads or the opening and closing stuff, it mutes my microphone, but it doesn't mute Warren's microphone. So I had to do that manually. And when we came out, I forgot to turn your volume back up.
Yeah.
So that's my fault.
Yeah, I was just talking bad about Marcus and Brian and all those people in the chat room, so it's a good thing they didn't hear me.
Yeah, that would have been really, really bad.
Yeah. um, anyway, no, I'm using Apple Maps now because of the watch buzzing, which I like.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you're like driving and using maps and, having a navigation, sometimes you do zone out and you're like, yeah, hey, I probably should have turned where it told me to turn 2 miles ago. And the watch actually, believe it or not, when you feel it, it's
taptic feedback.
It's another thing to say, hey, hey.
Well, did you know that depending on whether you're going to make a left turn or a right turn, it actually buzzes you differently? It taps you differently. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I didn't even know that the watch did that at first, and when I was going on a trip, it wasn't real far. I guess it was like maybe 2 hours away, and every time I was coming up someplace, I was feeling my watch, buzz me, and I kept looking down, and it was like, what? I don't have any messages. What's going on here? And that's when I realized, wait a second, it's doing it to these turns. And when I started actually paying attention to it, I realized that it was a different buzz for whether I was making a left turn or whether I was making a right turn.
I just assumed you would have to get a watch on each wrist, and it would like a bicycle thing, But no, Apple Maps has been pretty good. There's been what I said in the Facebook group is, I would say maybe 2% of the time and 3%. I'll be driving and Apple Maps says, you're here, and I'll look to my right and I'll see like a tumbleweed go by and nothing there. I'll be like, no, Apple Maps, I'm obviously not here because I'm not here. That there's no house here.
Right.
And then I'll go and usually I'll just pick a map app like Google Maps and that will say, no, it's like 2 miles that way. I'm like, oh, thanks Apple Maps. That's beautiful of you.
So you've had trouble with Apple Maps then?
It's not. It has some issues where it's not accurate as maybe Google Maps or even my car navigation system. But I always try it. Whereas in the past I never even bothered to try it.
Right.
Now it's my default, and if there's a problem, I'll go that way and try to use something else if I can't find what I'm looking for.
Well, I started off with Apple Maps, and then I also had some problems with it, and I switched to Google Maps. Though I also have tried Navigon, I've tried Copilot, and I have all these apps, a couple of others. And then my son turned me on to Waze, W-A-Z-E.
Yeah.
And if I'm just going on a short trip, relatively close, I'll use Apple Maps just because of the integration with the watch.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a longer trip, I'm going out of state someplace, I'll usually use Waze, mostly for the road information that it gives you live, like stopped cars and police and
Mm-hmm.
other hazards and stuff like that. Because the thing about Waze is it's actually like social media navigation, because everyone else that's using the app is going, oh, there's a cop, there's a stopped car, there's this, there's that.
But how does that?
Up.
How? And I knew that, but I can't fathom how people are just doing that while they're driving. Like, I don't know how. First of all,
well, you have to get used to it. Number one, and the thing is, they changed the last version that they came out with. They changed the UI a little bit, and now it's a lot easier. Basically, as you're driving down the street, you see something or you want to respond to something in the upper left corner. Like, say there's a stopped car. Well, it'll tell you like 2 miles before you get to that stopped car, somebody else saw that stopped car. So in the upper left corner, there'll be 2 buttons. There'll be like a red thumbs down and a blue or green thumbs up. And as you're driving along, if you see the car or whatever it was that the program is trying to warn you about, without really even looking, because you'll know it's there after a while, you hit the green or the red button. If you hit the red one, it makes it go away. If you hit the green one, it tells everybody else, yes, that cop is still there, that car is still there, or whatever it is that it was trying to warn you of. If you want to add something, there's a different button. You hit that, and then there's a separate screen comes up that has like all the different things, and it's in big letters. You can really see it very well. I mean, it's honestly, it's better if you have somebody else in the car with you to do it for you. But it is capable of being done carefully, very, very, very carefully, if you're by yourself in the car.
Yeah, I mean, I've never used it. I'll try it, but it sounds like it's a policeman's nightmare. The people reporting cops and text and kind of like using their phone while they drive. Yeah. It's like, well, not only
you gotta have it mounted someplace. It's not like you can hold it here in your hand and start doing stuff as you're also holding onto the wheel and going 6,000 miles an hour.
Could you report like slow traffic, and then when you rear end into somebody, when you're the one that rear ends into somebody, say, I just hit somebody, but don't avoid this road because I just because I was looking at my phone instead of the road, and then it just keeps going that way.
Let's see. Over in the chat room, we have Sean Krim. Hey, what's going on, Sean? Frank Petrie is there. Someone named Warren Sklar. Brian Monroe. I don't know who else is there. We have all kinds of stuff going on. We have other topics that we actually are going to talk about tonight. I'm just really kind of excited to use this new program. And other than the fact, I'm kind of bummed that it's not it's not coming up the way I thought it was going to. And oh, come on, don't bring up Safari now. I'm going to have to figure it out, and I will. But it was weird because when I tried this the other night, the comments did come up. But now, when I hit click overlay for any of these comments, I mean, it does bring it up, and you can see the little avatar that they have. You're going to see it there on the screen in a minute. But instead of showing the text, it's like just almost a solid white background. You can sort of see Frank's name there in the back, but for the most part, it's it's just not what I expected it to be. But that's okay.
It's like a floating glass of beer, is what I say.
Well, it was supposed to be his avatar that he uses on Facebook,
right now.
Plus the comment right next to it, but it's not.
Yeah.
So it's something I got to figure out. Going to move on to some of the other topics that we've got. The EU was really, really pissed at Apple because Ireland is taking too long, just too damn long, to get that $16 billion, I think it's 13 billion euros, from Ireland that Apple, with Apple stashing, whatever subsidiary it is of Apple that what they were using to kind of push their European profits over there. And the courts of the EU decided that Ireland wasn't playing fair and that their tax structure was set up in such a way to encourage multinationals to store all of their profits in Ireland as compared to, I guess, paying a lot of taxes in all of these various countries of the EU. So the EU courts ruled in October that Ireland's tax laws were illegal and that they had to collect what the EU considered to be unpaid taxes, and Ireland was supposed to do it within 4 months of this decision. But between appeals to the original decision and Ireland recalculating themselves to determine the accuracy of the EU's stated amount, it's taken longer than that for Ireland to collect the monies. The EU's competition commissioner, I know I'm going to screw this name up, Margrethe Vestager. I'm guessing that's how you say it. I've been practicing my French accent. What do you think of it, Warren? Isn't it a great French accent? No.
It's good. I don't know if that's a French name, but it's a good accent.
Well, I mean, she's Belgian, so it's mostly French.
Okay.
But she claimed that in order to have competition, level the playing field, and restore competition, Apple and the other companies had to pay all these back taxes. Now, I don't really get how charging multinationals high amounts of taxes beyond the sales tax that they make when the products are sold there is going to encourage competition or somehow level the playing field. I don't understand that, and she didn't really explain it in the little bit of snippet that I saw. But as it turns out, it may not matter because the U.S., in order to get what they consider to be, our fair share of Apple's billions, have done this tax holiday where Apple and all these other multinationals that have been storing their money outside the United States can, for I believe it's only a one-time offer, to bring their money back into the United States at a vastly reduced tax rate, which is about the corporate tax rate in the U.S., if you count state taxes and all the rest of that, is about 40%. And I believe that this special deal is like 15 to 20%. So I know Apple and a lot of other companies are making serious noises about bringing it back over.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think Ireland had $16 billion, but if they do,
well, they've got a lot more than that. Apple's got about $350 billion over there.
Okay, and this was the money Apple was going to use to create those jobs here and to build factories here, I think.
Well, actually, they're not actually going to build the factories. I think Apple has decided that they don't want to get into the manufacturing game. So what they're doing is they're partnering up with companies like Foxconn, which I believe that's a Taiwanese company that makes a lot of their stuff over in Taiwan and China, to build some kind of facility here in the U.S., but they would actually own the facility, and Apple would lease space from them to make their stuff.
Right, but it was kind of at least create jobs, and
right.
I mean, we could go on a whole thing.
Yeah, but this
we could go on a
isn't
whole
gonna
thing
happen.
about whether they should. Yeah, I mean, Apple should.
Well, they should, and I would love it if they would. But what so many people don't seem to understand is these kinds of mega factories don't just spring up overnight. I mean, you look at the spaceship that they built there in Cupertino. I think it was wherever it was they built their big flying spaceship monster office building. How many years did that take?
I'm going there next week, by the way. Just to meet
nice.
me in LA. Yeah.
Never been to LA.
Yeah, no. So whoever's in the Los Angeles area, not LA, San Francisco area is where it is. Let me know.
I've been to San Francisco.
Yeah, no, I actually met Brian over there, so I'm going back in a week or so for vacation. I mean, we could go into the whole thing where the Chinese Google, the China data center. What am I trying to say? The China.
I know what you're trying to say.
So Apple is a slave to China because they are their factories are there. And it's not just like they can't just stop selling there, but their stuff is made there. So, it would not be a horrible idea for them to get some factories somewhere else too, just in case, things go bad. But yeah, it's a lot more expensive and it takes years and years and years. So
just to build the facility, it takes a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing about the data centers is, unfortunately, Apple, at this point, doesn't have a lot of choice. They, by Chinese law, now everywhere that Apple sells their stuff, they have to follow whatever the local rules, regulations, and laws are. And that's not limited to just the devices. That also goes into copyright and patents and everything else. That's why when Apple makes a new Giga, the first thing they do is they go to the patent offices all over the world. It's not enough to just patent it in the U.S. You have to patent it all over the world. I mean, they've been sued in China for the name iPad and for, various things along. No, it's all right. Was that your phone?
Yeah.
So you have to patent the crap out of whatever it is that you make. And, at the same time, Apple has almost no choice when presented with something like this. They have to abide by Chinese law when it comes to devices that are in the hands of Chinese citizens. So it's unfortunate, and it's, in a lot of ways, it sucks, but there's not really much they can do about it. China and Apple have kind of, I don't want to say a death grip on each other, because China wants to keep all these people employed and Apple wants to keep making devices as cheaply as they can. So, it's a mutually beneficial arrangement. And unless China makes the cost of doing business in China so reprehensible that they can't hold their nose and continue to do it and be able to move their manufacturing someplace else. And again, it took years to set up the kind of infrastructure that they have right now in China to make millions upon millions of cell phones and iPads and Macs and everything else. So it's not like they can just look at China and say, well, you pissed us off with this decision, so we're going to go make our stuff in Vietnam or Malaysia or Taiwan or wherever. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is the fear is if they have to abide to local law.
They do.
What would stop in the future, a country coming up with a law that even goes further than that and coming up with, we make it a law where you have to give us encryption keys, or, you have to, share information, whatever.
Well, that's the one thing that they have right now. Now, as I understand it, the data will be there, but Apple will still hold the encryption keys. The difference is because apparently between 2013 and 2017, China made something like I think it was around 300 requests for information regarding Chinese nationals, and Apple refused them all. And apparently, China may have, as I recall, China may have tried to go through the U.S. courts to force Apple to do it, but the U.S. courts were like, nah, we're not going to do that. But things will be different when they're in China. Apple may have no choice but to turn over those encryption keys.
Right. No, they have to do it. My feeling is Apple needs to get into a position, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, however long it takes, they need to be in a position where they can say, okay, country X, your laws and rules are not in sync with our philosophy, and we are not doing business in your country anymore.
Well, that's more or less what Google did.
Yeah, I know. And Apple...
But Google wasn't a hardware manufacturer.
No. And if they're losing money, Google might be losing money by doing it, probably not as much as Apple. But Apple needs to be in a place where they could, avoid being hostage to a company if that happens. At this point, they're an American company building American infrastructure and factories. Probably is the safest bet, although this country has tried to do things that Apple doesn't want to do either. So, I mean, there's nothing totally safe, but no. China is kind of a whole different world, and, that's a little bit more more risk. The cost benefit is that it's so cheap to do things over there.
Well, it's not just that though. A lot, like if you look at, Apple has been trying to crack the India market for many, many, many years. The problem is, the Indian government basically told them, if you want to sell stuff here, you have to make stuff here. And it wasn't enough to have data centers. It wasn't enough to have, schools that would teach the locals to make apps or something along those lines. It wasn't enough to say, well, can we sell our old phones, the phones that other people have turned in from around the world. And, it had to be stuff that you made there in India. And that's the rules that the Indians and the Chinese and the Koreans and the Japanese and so many other countries force other countries to do. Whereas for the most part, the U.S. doesn't do that for the most part.
And the Indian rule, is tolerable, and Apple could work with that. But some country, China could say, and Brian said, it's not that easy to, China can't just say, give us the keys and that's it. But, Ireland could say, you know what, we want you to display ads for Ireland Tourism Division on your home
Guinness,
screen.
For Ireland Guinness.
Or Guinness, whatever, So, and
I'd be all right with that.
all of a sudden they're Google with their advertisements, and Apple doesn't want to. I'm just saying that the idea of being hostage by a company is a bad idea, or
by a country.
Or by a country, I mean, yeah, definitely by a country is a bad idea. And having the ability to say, they can't call their bluff right now. But I guarantee if they were able to call their bluff, China would say, oh, no, that's all right. There's no negotiation tactic that they have other than to comply.
Right.
China's holding a lot of that. I'm sure Apple brings a lot of money to China. I'm sure
they do. And it's not just that they bring a lot of money to China, that they employ a lot of Chinese nationals.
Right.
And people, especially in countries where, oh, God, how to put this politely, your freedom of movement, freedom of speech, freedom of expressing yourself in such a way that is counter to what the authorities want. You can't, it's difficult to negotiate with countries like that because you're not really coming from a position of strength.
Yep. I mean, again, they need to. This should be.
How did we get on this?
Well, it was in your notes of this.
No, China wasn't in my notes.
We were talking, but we got on this because Ireland.
Okay, we were talking international stuff.
Well, we got on this because I said the money that they're getting from Ireland was initially going to be used to build factories, according to Apple.
Okay,
like a month ago. I think my point is that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Apple
it would be a good idea.
Apple should be in a position, in the next, decade or whatever to have the ability to self-sustain itself in its own country.
Yeah.
If need be. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
that's my story.
We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on.
Good. Oh.
The next story is 64 is better than 32, except when vital apps aren't updated. This is a story from Apple Insider. Developers are currently being warned that their 32-bit applications that currently run under Apple's Mac OS 10.13.3 are in danger of being left behind if they aren't upgraded to 64-bit and soon. Apple hasn't given a firm deadline or said if the next version of the Mac OS will leave their unconverted apps in the dust. For developers, they will be watching the next WWDC, the Worldwide Developers Conference, closely for clues as to how soon this transition will occur. For users, it's probably time to start checking mission-critical apps and look for potential alternatives if it seems likely that the apps they use won't be converted. And I've got an excellent example here. For the MyMac podcast, I use this program called Levelator, which basically takes different audio at different levels and levels them across the entire however long the audio file is. Well, it doesn't work anymore. There were some changes made in the Mac OS, and there is a workaround and a fix that I had working on my old computer, and if I want to continue to use it, I've got to find that fix again. I don't remember exactly where it was. But this is kind of the same thing we went through when we were transitioning from, I think, what was it, iOS 6 to iOS 7, when they were going from 32-bit, or was it 32-bit to 64?
It was later than that. It wasn't 6 to 7. The 32-bit was iOS 9, maybe.
Okay. Well,
yeah, but it was later.
Regardless, there was a lot of apps, because essentially app developers, especially if they're paid for apps that you have to give money to get any real functionality out of. Once they have your money from the time that the app was released, if they don't see a big return on that, then they're not going to bother to update it. They've got their money that they got when the app originally came out.
Right. Yeah, Paul says it was 10 to 11. That's when 32 bits. Yeah, I mean, it's a pain. Like I told the Mac to the Future people that I I'm going paperless. I bought this came from Amazon today. It's a good scanner. Because my wife told me over a couple of days ago that I need to do something with the file cabinet, and I said I have an idea. So I got that.
Well,
so
make sure you got everything backed up before you start shredding.
So, well, that leads me to what's going on. So, I started looking into some software, but the scanner it's a Fujitsu, and it came with software that was pretty recommended. Anyways, I started installing it, and it was installing, and all of a sudden, 20 pop-ups. That's what I say. This program is not optimized for performance.
With your version of the Mac OS?
Yeah, so that's how they're trying. That was a message about the 32 app, I'm guessing. But after I hit OK, they all worked. I guess, right, this could be a problem because I'm using it. Version of Mac OS doesn't let me use it, then I don't get to my scanned documents until I figure out what to do.
Yeah, Frank says that we'll look back in several years and this will be a blip. It wasn't a blip with iOS, and it wasn't. And Marcus was talking about when we switched from PowerPC to Intel, there were a lot of apps that got left behind that were never updated or never really worked the same way.
Yeah, I mean, developers, if it's a money stream that's going to keep coming in and they're not like dead or retired, then they'll keep doing. They'll do it. That's why when people are asking recommendations for software nowadays, we generally try not to give. It's not like the old days where it's like, oh, my friend Johnny wrote something, or I know this guy who has this program that he got. We tend to suggest something a little more mainstream because things are changing. So, but hopefully it does actually improve this. I mean, I'm assuming there's a reason for it. Hopefully they run better.
It allows. Actually, you know what? I was going to start waxing poetic about the differences between 32-bit and 64-bit apps, and I suddenly realized that there was no way I was going to get through that conversation and sound intelligent. So I said, okay, I'm just going to stop doing that right there. No.
64 is more
good, 32 bad.
It's got more, so that's better.
Yeah, it's got more stuff. All right, we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about M. Night Shyamalan. Doesn't that sound exciting?
That is very exciting.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. So everyone, hold on, and we'll be right back.
Yep.
Everybody, please stand by. And, we'll be right back.
And welcome everyone back to the mymac.com podcast.
All right, so let's carry on. But
I'm still laughing about something that happened just before we started recording, and we're going to talk about that right now.
I don't know if you heard, Guy, but Sal's going. Did you know that?
Yeah, I heard that. He's leaving Apple. It's a tragedy for everybody.
Oh dear, this is not going well, is it? We are so childish.
We are.
Really are.
It's the G-Men on the mymac.com podcast. See, I still wanted to do some kind of transition. I've got to figure out how to do that, or even if it's possible. So we're back, and we got a couple little stories to talk about before we wrap this up for the night. Kind of surprised we've gone. Marcus Benjamin, poor Sal. Yeah, that was an interesting show. Gaz and I had a good time with that. M. Night Shyamalan.
Who's Sal? I missed the show.
Sal Segoen.
Oh, Sal's gone. Yeah. He's got to be gone. That's a good one.
Oh, he's already gone. He's long gone.
He's gone. Yeah.
M. Night
Shyamalan.
M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dang.
Yeah.
Maker of many movies that have thrilled audiences like The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, and Split. Did you see Split?
No, but I heard it was not
really,
bad.
really, really good. And it's typical with M. Night Shyamalan, the shock ending or the twisted ending, and there is kind of a twist at the end, and I'm not going to say what it is.
I'll watch.
So those were really good ones as compared to some that weren't quite as well received, like The Last Airbender is signed on to develop and produce a TV show for Apple, and it is said that he will direct the first episode. So it's going to be some kind of thriller, and it'll have, weird shamalama ding dang kind of cool stuff, I guess. I don't know if he's actually ever worked in television.
No, and Frank is saying he's a Philly filmmaker, and I'm near Philly, and if you go to, I don't know if you've ever been, but if you're in the Philadelphia International Airport,
yes,
in one of the terminals as you're going down the People Mover, it has every movie that was shot in Philadelphia. Yeah, so it's got
all I can say about Philadelphia is the Mutter Museum. That is
Mummer.
Yeah,
Mummer.
Yeah.
The Mummers.
Yeah, that is like a really, really sick.
That's all we got. We got
place.
the Mummers and Rocky, but yeah. So you got the movie posters, and it's Rocky, every Rocky, and then the Sixth Sense is in there. Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen much of what he's done since Sixth Sense, so I turned off from there.
Did you see Unbreakable?
I did. Yeah, and that wasn't so good either.
Oh, I loved Unbreakable. But
did you?
Yeah, let's not get into M. Night Shyamalan.
Where he was made out of glass, right?
Yeah. The bad guy.
I saw Thor last night. Thor Ragnarok.
I really, really liked Thor. And
yeah,
I was surprised that M. Night Shyamalan was able to do a superhero movie like
that. Who knew? Yeah.
What a talent.
At the end, Thor was actually he was dead. He's been dead the whole movie.
He's his own mother.
He was the ghost, and and he saw dead people
and made of glass. Okay. I've got one more topic here, but I think we're going to save that for another time because we are starting to run kind of long. What I wanted to talk about real quick, and I've mentioned it before, how much fun that I had for this event. Macstock 2018 is coming up in July, and I know that feels like it's months and months and months away because, well, it is months and months and months away. But this is the fourth year for this event. This year the dates are the 21st and 22nd of July, and as usual, it's going to be in Woodstock, Illinois, at the I know I'm going to mess this up. Luch Conference Center, which is located in Building B of the main McHenry County College campus in Crystal Lake, Illinois. The Conference Center, this place is really, really set up. If you've seen any of the videos that have been shot at previous Macstocks, you can see just how nicely set up this place is. That roll for all the seats, so you can see everything no matter where you're sitting. Some of the speakers this year include for people who know who this is, Dr. Mac Bob Levitas, who is giving the keynote. Tim Robertson from mymac.com and myself will be doing the MyMac game show quiz. We did this last year, huge success. We gave away all the prizes. It was so much fun. Allison Sheridan from the NosillaCast is going to be there. Wally Cherwinski, who is a longtime videographer, and many, many more people that will be announced later on. The cost for the entire this is a 2-day conference. And the thing about a lot of these conferences is they tell you, okay, it's only $300. It's only $400, blah, 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 blah. And then you get there and you find out, well, if you want to go on this conference track or you want to go on that conference track, well, you got to pay a little bit more money. Macstock doesn't do that. $249 is the total price for 2 days of fun and excitement. This includes not just all the talks and everything that's going on and the deeper dives that happen after that. That also includes lunch on both days, a T-shirt. There's going to be all kinds of special gifts for people that sign up for both days. There's going to be the Barry's Midwest Mac Mingle. They had a live band last year. They're doing something a little bit different this year. You've got, if you sign up for both days, there's also the Friday welcome party. So other than breakfast, once you get there, you're not going to have to pay for food for the entire time that you're there. They take care of lunch. They're going to take care of dinner on Friday and Saturday. All you have to do is get to Chicago. Chicago is like one of the easiest places to get to anywhere in the world. So now, because it's still early, $249 isn't something that you have to pay if you sign up now. You won't have to pay $249. It's going to be $179. So right there, that's $70 off the cost of already a great bargain. And, but wait, there's less, because I was talking to Mike Potter, who's the organizer of the conference, and he has given me a code that if you're watching this and you sign up for this event and get the early bird special, you can take another $10 off. So $169, $80 off the regular price for 2 days of great food, fun, and friends. If you've ever wanted to go to the Macworld Expo and now it's too late because it's gone, this is a taste of what the Macworld Expo was like. I went to the last 7 years of it, and Macstock is so much fun. The code in order to get that extra $10 off is MTTF bonus 10. That will take another $10 off. And, you know, you guys, if you've never been to this thing and you're anywhere near Chicago, give it a try. You won't regret it. It'll be so much fun. Anyway, that's all I got tonight, Warren.
That was a lot.
I know.
No, yeah, as I said, I'm going to try to get out there. I have to get...
Well, you're actually closer than I am, and I'm driving.
How far is Chicago from here? I don't know.
Well, I'm not sure exactly where you live, but I'm like to the south and east of you. It's like... For me to drive to Chicago,
I'm looking around to ask a smart device. I mean, I can't figure out what smart device. Somebody should answer me.
It's about a 12-hour drive for me.
Okay.
And I've flown once and driven twice, so I'll probably drive again this time. And maybe depending on where you live, we could share expenses to get out there. We can talk about that another time.
Yeah. I will let you. I'll talk to the wife.
Okay.
About that. But when is it? So it starts. What are those dates again?
It's like the middle of July, July 21st and 22nd.
And it goes over a weekend. Is that what it does?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Marcus says, if we order in the next 10 minutes, we'll beat everyone else who orders 11 minutes from now.
He also says if he could get a refund if he didn't learn anything at the show.
Well, you'll learn 5 new things.
Yeah,
5
I've heard that.
New things.
Yeah. It changed to 5 this year.
Yeah, I know.
It was 4 last year.
And Dave and John will probably be there. Other than I think 1 year, they've been there each year. I will have my mobile podcasting set up, so I'll have 4 microphones and the computer and everything else, and I'm not sure what all we'll do with it, but we will have a good time. So Warren,
I would assume there's going to be a lot of people using electronics at that place.
Yes, there will be.
Guess.
There will be lots of people using electronics. Warren, you can be found over there on Mac to the Future on the Facebooks.
Yeah, come join, hang out. It's good. It's fun. We talk about things.
We have so much fun over there. You can get a hold of me. My email address, guymttfgo.com or guy@mymac.com. I'm Mac Parrot over there on the Twitters. You can leave us you can leave us a message using the Skype telephone number, 703-436-9501, 703-436-9501. And
I thought Gaz disconnected the Skype.
No, it's
Or
still
was he-
there. It's
Was he
still
kidding? All right, he wasn't sure.
there. But nobody calls it, so we're not.
It might
really
be
sure.
disconnected. For all we know.
There's one guy. There's one
Yeah.
guy in the Carolinas that knows how to use that number.
All right.
One guy.
Well, nobody calls anybody anymore.
I know.
But,
What's wrong with you people? Call the damn number. 703-436-9501. Call the flippin' number. Leave a message. We'll play it here on the show. I swear to God we will. Also, if you are so inclined, I have a Patreon set up to help me pay for all of this stuff. Just go to patreon.com, look me up, Guy Searle. You'll see it there. I have 4 people. Oh, I was going to set this up ahead of time, and I didn't do it. I'll do it next week. There are 4 people that are currently sponsoring me. Thank you, everyone who is sponsoring me. That it does help to kind of get all this stuff that I'm using. Of course, with 4 people, it'll be a couple of years before the iMac is paid off, but that's okay.
In 20 years, they'll still have the iMac.
Well, in 20 years, I'll be 78 years old.
Still be using the 2017 iMac.
Everybody else will have like live implants into their head, and it'll all be virtual, and I'll be like, where's my microphone? Oh, here it is. It's right here in my webcam. Hey everybody, how you doing? Anyway,
I'm gonna walk up and wonder what the keyboard thing is. Computer.
Computer.
All
right, everybody.
We're getting there.
We're gonna get out of here. Thank you so very, very much for joining us this evening. We will be kind of tweaking stuff as we go along, but I think so far this has been, compared to some weeks, this has been pretty much an unmitified good thing. It's been really good.
So keep the iMac. It works.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I don't have much choice. All right, everybody. We're going to see if I can do this without screwing it up. Bye. Say goodnight, Warren.
Good night, Warren.
Okay. So this is and you know what? I'm looking at the screen on Facebook right now, and it's already back to us live again. I think that the delay is much, much less.
Oh yeah.
With this program than it is with or what it was with OBS.
I used to have time to pee after the break. I can't pee anymore.
No, you can't pee. You just got to stay.
No, it's gotta wait. Yeah. Damn technology getting faster and shit.
Yeah. What's wrong with this? And I guess I'm looking at our name tags. I guess I need to put a border or something around that so that it doesn't get kind of lost. All right.
And then you pixelated right there, just so you know. And you about 3 times your voice pixelated during the thing.
Well, we'll see what it sounds like in the recording. Because one of the cool things about this program, what I was doing with OBS was essentially, once we were done, I was taking the finished video file that OBS would make, put that into Adobe Premiere Elements, do some editing there, and then push that up to Facebook. But with this program, I can just push it right up to Facebook and then do my cut of the stuff that I don't want at the beginning out right there in Facebook after it's all done, which saves me a ton of time. And the other thing I don't have to worry about, since it looks like we're in sync as far as audio goes, I don't have to sit there and disconnect the audio and the video on the same track and say, okay, I'm going to move this audio over 3 frames. Oh, no, that's not enough. 6 frames. Oh, that's too many. I got to take it to 5. And then it drifts farther down to something else. I mean, it was just a pain in the ass, and I don't have to do that with this.
Did you ever get the monitor I sold you working with this thing?
Yeah, I've got it right here.
So you just got a Thunderbolt adapter, I'm sure.
No, USB-C.
Yeah. That's what I meant.
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's Thunderbolt out from the iMac, but it's a USB-C
to DisplayPort.
Mini DisplayPort.
Mini display. Yeah.
Yeah, and it works like a charm. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah,
hold on a second. See, there it is right there.
Yeah, I saw my name on the back of it. This is my favorite.
No, 3D.
It's 3D from the Muppet Show.
Yeah,
it's
I am 3D. A killer. Oh, stab!
3D.
Stab.
It's 3D. It's 3D. 3D. All right. I'm gonna.
I am gonna hit finish here. We're getting very silly now.
People are looking for me, and my son's probably on fire. So
okay, well that's not good. All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye, all.